Watch this.
It would be extremely dangerous to say you can receive stabilizing care except if it's an abortion.
But that might not be the case anymore in Idaho. A simple mistake gave us a sneak peek of what the U.S. Supreme Court has to say about abortions when it comes to emergency care. They didn't say much, which says a lot. Perhaps the perfect spot to throw a party might not be just steps away from a police station. Or maybe it is. A nightclub just got approval to open up in downtown Nampa, and believe it or not, the police are down to dance.
Everyone just needs to get a little bit looser sometimes, you know? Hear the music, feel it, you know?
You don't have to wait for the sun to set to step out and dance. You can do it weekly, every Wednesday, and in a water fountain if you want. We're taking you to Boise's Alive After 5. Well, it appears the U.S. Supreme Court can't seem to keep its abortion decisions from the public before they want them to be seen by the public. In maternal terms, once again, their water broke before viability. And it seems the court is ready to allow emergency abortions in Idaho when a pregnant woman's health is at risk, not just her life. The headline from Bloomberg News this morning said the court was, quote, poised to allow because, well, this morning someone posted that SCOTUS opinion by mistake on that website. The draft was quickly taken down, but not before Bloomberg grabbed it. Afterwards, the Supreme Court admitted someone did jump the gun. But here is what we know and how we got here and where it appears we are now. In March of 2020, Idaho passed its trigger law. June of 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade with the Dobbs decision, returning abortion rights to the states and triggering Idaho's ban. August 2nd of 2022, weeks before Idaho's ban would go into effect officially, the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against Idaho and its legislature saying the exception in the law which allows abortion to save the life of the mother was too narrow and violates the Federal Emergency Treatment and Labor Act, or EMTALA, which specifies health of the individual seeking emergency care. Idaho's law did go into effect on August 24th of 2022. However, the U.S. District Court of Idaho granted a preliminary injunction, putting the law on pause while it works its way through the courts. That decision was appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, who stopped the injunction. Then they reinstated it a month later. Idaho appealed that decision to the U.S. Supreme Court, who agreed to hear the case in January, and in doing so, lifted the injunction, allowing Idaho's law to go into effect for the very first time. Okay, so SCOTUS heard oral arguments in April, and because of that, the justices are apparently ready to reveal, well, they shouldn't have. If this posted opinion stands, it shows they simply dismissed the case, saying they improvidently granted the writ of certiorari, which is legalese for they shouldn't have gotten involved in the case so quickly. In other words, they could be punting. I've read the draft opinion on this, by the way, and if it is real, and it stands, in a 6-3 decision, dismissing the case will revert it back to the Ninth Circuit, that is, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling, which will reinstate the injunction while the lawsuit is decided, meaning, as Justice Elena Kagan wrote, it will prevent Idaho from enforcing its abortion ban when the termination of a pregnancy is needed to prevent serious harms to a woman's health. Justice Amy Coney Barrett agreed, saying this case should be dismissed because it has substantially shifted since the lawsuit was filed 2 years ago. Remember, it's changed a couple of times since that lawsuit was filed. She wrote, adding a few more exceptions and removing the burden of proof from the doctor. The legal proceedings, they haven't had a chance to catch up with that, she said. Again, this is not an official opinion from the Supreme Court yet, but rather it's one that was mistakenly posted way too soon, which is why Idaho's parties involved in this case, that'd be Attorney General Raul Labrador, Speaker of the House Mike Moyle, even the doctors we spoke with about this last week, they all want to wait to comment until it is official. Important to note, this will do little to change Idaho's abortion ban, just so you know. As Justice Barrett wrote in this decision, when it actually gets handed down, possibly as soon as tomorrow, even with the injunction in place, Idaho's ability to enforce its law remains almost entirely intact. Meanwhile, it just so happened with the SCOTUS news, no news today. This morning in Boise, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra sat in on a forum about Idaho's abortion laws. On the panel with him, impacted Idahoans and doctors. Idaho just a stop on the National Reproductive Health for All tour, a tour from the Biden administration to discuss expanding and protecting abortion rights across the country. So I guess right place, right time. Joe Parrish, you were there this morning, so you got a chance to ask him about this premature post?
Yeah, I did, and you can kind of imagine what he had to say, but it is interesting. We'll get to that in just a moment. As the event was getting started in the Linen District here in Boise this morning, we were starting to get a fuller picture of what happened with SCOTUS and that premature posting. The event itself that we were attending was including local doctors discussing the challenges of Idaho's abortion laws, and we also heard from Jelaine St. Michel, who appeared on the 208 last week. She shared her story about being forced to go to Seattle, Washington from Idaho because she needed an emergency abortion. The pending Supreme Court decision will be official this week, tomorrow or Friday. For now, though, I asked HHS Secretary Becerra about the premature opinion post and his thoughts. He said it's important to wait and not speculate, but he did add this.
Anyone in America who is at risk of dying or losing their health status and needs to go to an emergency room should be able to go to an emergency room. That's always been our position. Whether the care that a professional, a medical professional says you need to stabilize your health or to save your life is an abortion or not, bottom line is none of us wants to be denied access to an emergency room when we need it. If indeed the Supreme Court upholds the very practice principle that you are entitled to get the emergency care that you need based on what your medical professional, that doctor says you need, that would be a good thing.
On the panel of doctors also sat Dr. Lauren Colson, a family physician and member of the Idaho Coalition for Safe Healthcare. I asked him if the Supreme Court does go with the supposed opinion that we've heard. If that does happen, how does it impact the reality of Idaho?
And honestly, in Idaho, with our laws, not a whole lot changes. And this teeny tiny little carve out allows us as physicians in very specific scenarios to provide the care and to hopefully not life flight people out of the state so they have to go somewhere else to get the care that we could easily provide here, but it does not fix our problem here. We still have a huge problem when it comes to being able to access an abortion when you need one.
And if you want to hear more from the panel, I would recommend checking out the 3-part series from the 208 team that aired last week. It was just a matter of happenstance and coincidence, but some of the people we heard from last week in those 208 specials, they were a part of this HHS panel, and we heard the stories that they told us on the 208. Very powerful stories, and it gives the context of what's going on outside of just the written law itself. How has this been playing in? Whether you agree with it or not, it is definitely worth checking out.
And what they said to us last week was they would like to see that change from life of the mother in Idaho's law to health of the mother. Those who pass the law say that is a term that is too broad.
And it's going to be interesting to find out exactly what happens officially from SCOTUS. But as you heard Dr. Colson say, even if it is the case, it is a very narrow carve out here in the state of Idaho.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. We'll keep tabs on that. Wait to see what happens tomorrow. One Nampa couple dreamed of bringing a place for people to dance, enjoy music right into the downtown part of their community. They were excited about their plans to open a nightclub in downtown Nampa, but when the project was proposed, local law enforcement, which was just down the street, they weren't exactly in favor of it. And they asked the city to deny the project's permit. Aspen Shumpert tells us what those concerns were and whether or not the project is going to happen.
Jorge and Sylvia Perez moved here from California 2 years ago.
We've noticed, that Nampa nightclubs are not too common, and Nampa's growing, so why not bring something fun for people?
With 14 years of experience managing nightclubs in California, they wanted to put that use in their new home. But traffic and parking concerns from local law enforcement put a pause on plans.
We didn't know hours of operation, what were they looking at for maximum occupancy and what to expect. And that intersection, 11th Avenue and 1st Street South, gets pretty congested during the days.
The nightclub on the corner of those two busy streets downtown is just 500 feet away from Nampa Fire and police stations.
That traffic coming and going, emergency vehicles. So there was concerns what that would look like and what potential impact that could have.
If the nightclub was to operate during the day, police were also concerned there wouldn't be enough parking in the area, and public lots would already be full. In a letter to the city dated June 4th, Nampa PD recommended the conditional use permit for the project be denied. Hard for the Perezes to hear.
Of course you get nervous, because you kind of get afraid of what's going to happen.
The city postponed the project's hearing to allow a chance for Nampa PD and the nightclub owners to talk. They sat down June 19th.
We had a great meeting with them. They helped explain to us what their hopes are of that business. Their hours of operations are later in the evening.
There's a parking garage a few blocks away, and with later hours, space will be available in nearby parking lots, all easing congestion concerns from Nampa PD. The Perez's agreed to also change their parking stalls out front to angled parking for better entry and exit of spaces per Nampa PD's recommendation. Now, the nightclub plans are back on.
We were able to work it out with them. We're both on the same page.
Tuesday was the last project hearing with the city, and the city approved it. The Perez's say the club will play a variety of music, a mix of live bands and DJ sets.
Not everybody likes the same things. So we figure, a little bit of everything is just going to bring us all together.
The Perez's hope to open the nightclub in about 3 to 4 months. They say they'll be open Thursday through Sunday, 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Brian?
Okay, so the only impact in that neighborhood, possibly the parking, streets, congestion, that kind of stuff, or they're worried about other things?
No, that's it. I asked them, are you worried that maybe people who are drinking are right next door to the police station and the fire station? That wasn't one of their concerns. It was mainly traffic and congestion, is what they say.
All right, so 3 to 4 months. All right, thanks very much, Aspen. Meanwhile, a special meeting last night that lasted 4 hours. Nampa School District ended up sticking with their original decision when it comes to who they're going to have taking kids to school. School board trustees, in a unanimous vote, awarded the district's transportation contract to First Student Bus Company. That ends a 64-year relationship with the Brown Bus Company that was taking kids to and from school. This was the second hearing held on the matter because Brown Bus Company, they protested the school board's original decision to go with First Student, and they were hoping to change their minds. Back in the spring, district was set to renew decades-old contract with Brown, but they learned the new proposal that Brown had was $2 million more than their budget could handle. So they decided to put the contract out to bid. They got 2 of them, one from Brown, another from First Student. June 11th, school board decided they were going to give it to First Student, mostly because the bid from Brown was incomplete. Well, Brown asked the board to reconsider. So they did, and they listened to presentations from both First Student and Brown Bus Company in last night's protest hearing. The board went to executive session about 7:30 last night. 10 minutes later, they had a decision.
I would like to move that we affirm the student transportation services bid submitted by Students First or First Students, and to find that doing so is in the best interest of the public and the district.
Like we said, it was unanimous. Each member of the board did go or wanted to go with First Student, pointing to the legal specifications of that bidding process. And it does end that long-term relationship with Brown, and it kind of hit a few of them emotionally, hit board chair Brooke Taylor especially.
Give me a sec. In no way, shape, or form is this a reflection of how we feel about our drivers, what we know that they mean to our students, or their service to our community. Nor was this a position that this board wanted to see themselves in after such a tumultuous year.
I mean, that could also be one family seeing the same bus driver for years and years, which is reasonable to expect when it comes to 64 years of service. To show their support, Brown Bus Company drivers did show up in matching shirts last night, filling the boardroom and the overflow room. They told us last Friday if the board was to go with First Student, though, that would mean more than 125 staff members and drivers of Brown Bus Company. They're going to lose their jobs. We did try to reach out to First Student to ask them what their plans are, if they're going to hire any of those Brown bus drivers that might lose their jobs, and when they might be getting their buses into town. We have yet to hear back from them. And with those elements not fully lined up, it does remain unknown if it will all come together in time and whether or not there'll be buses to take kids to school on that first day of school. Looking to get a little loose on this hump day? Alive After 5 is in full swing in the Grove Plaza. There's live music, drinks, dancing. Best part, it's free. We're celebrating its 37th season. Of course, it's totally cool just to hang out at home with the 208. But don't just sit there. Join the conversation. Hit us up with a text message from the comfort of your couch. 208-321-5614. Don't forget to include your name and the hashtag the 208. Then you can have your own dance party when we share yours at the end of the show. You know, where else can you see men and women in business attire alongside kids in swimsuits splashing in the fountain while a band sweats through another set on stage under the summer sun? Well, that'd be on the Grove Plaza in downtown Boise. And right now, the longest running free concert series in the City of Trees is in the middle of its second installment of its 37th season. While you can expect to see a lot of the same sights you've likely seen the previous 36 years, you know, like the undone ties, lines at the beer garden, what you'll hear this year is an upgrade in music. Organizers of Treefort are helping with the lineup this year. Photojournalist John Markcrum takes us downtown to see what's keeping Alive After 5 alive after all these years.
I feel like everyone just needs to get a little bit looser sometimes, you know? Hear the music, feel it, you know?
Today we are here for the kickoff of the 37th season of the Alive After 5 free summer concert series. Alive After 5 is a 7 contiguous week, every Wednesday night, 5 to 8 p.m., free summer concert series. We always have a local opener that starts us off every night, kicks us off, and then we have a national or regional touring artist as our headliner.
I'm Mungo. Today I'm performing an opening for Afrosonics, which is an incredible band.
Both bands are very dancey, very fun, super high energy.
It's free, which is so awesome. It's available to anybody. Anyone in the public can come and enjoy the music, enjoy the food. There's also a splash pad in the middle. Get a little hot from dancing, cool down real quick, you know? Like, what's better than that? Seriously. It's such an innate human response to like hear music and want to move, and I feel like we're not given as many opportunities to do that as we should. Like most concerts, most things, you know, you have to pay for it, you have to like feel like you're in with a certain group, but I feel like here, it's just, there's no exclusions, it's just everyone together.
And just be in that moment and be in that present moment. It's a bit like yoga, because you're there, you know?
Get down here, get loose, get groovy, get a little crazy, get a little wild, you know, because we don't do it as often as we should. We really don't.
It's what makes our area really unique and beautiful.
Well, you can do it at least once a week for the next few weeks. Tonight, you can enjoy madcap laughs before Scott Pemberton hits the stage. How about another reason to hit the Grove? To groove in the Grove. Each week, tips from drinks go to a nonprofit. Tonight, those tips are going to help City of Good, which distributes meals to kids, seniors, and refugees. And again, you can check out Alive After 5 every Wednesday from 5 to 8 in the Grove Plaza, downtown Boise. You can see a full lineup of who's going to be on stage. It's on our website, ktvb.com.
We've certainly had some inclement weather this afternoon. That video was from 1:30 around Nissa. And so that particularly strong storm moved through that area at that time, quickly moved out. But the rest of the area tonight, we're still looking at chances of gusty winds, lightning, and hail. And that's all the things that storm brought to Nissa as well. Good news is we have a few less storms that are severe warned to talk about at the moment. So there is still one in the mountains and one to the north of Twin Falls. So if we look at the one to the south of Stanley, that again producing strong winds and likely some hail at times. Also the one just to the south of Gooding. This warning will stay in place until 5:30 p.m. and some of those locally high rainfall rates as well. Overall, though, things still staying active even for the storms that aren't severe warned. You can see this train of storms that are moving just to the south of Mountain Home, and we refer to training as that because they look like separate train cars that are following the same path, almost as if they were on railways, but very active all across the region. You can see another that training storm just to the north of Crouch, but a little bit to the south of Ontario. So still very active this evening, and the potential will linger for some of these stronger thunderstorms. And we still have a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m. tonight. And this is uncommon for our area. We typically don't have a severe thunderstorm watch in place for this much of the extent of the state. We also have a red flag warning in place. Both of those will last until 9 tonight. So the combination of the strong storms and the potential for fire danger are the reason why we've called it a first alert weather day, because of those two things intersecting. And it hasn't been a lot of precipitation, even though it's been very busy with the thunderstorms, not a whole lot of moisture. So over in Ontario, we've seen almost a ½ inch of rain, but you can see otherwise very light. And that's adding to that fire danger as well, because the lightning can strike the ground, ignite the grasses, and then there's not enough moisture to put out some of those fires that may start. So overall, when we look at your 7-day forecast, everything after today will be looking on the calm side. And so some of these storms are being spurred by a cold front. And so behind the cold front, we will have some cooler temperatures. So high of 81 tomorrow, more breezy conditions, probably feeling more pleasant for us. Right now, we're in the 90s in many valley locations. And on Friday, we're expecting that to jump up just a little bit by 1 degree. So still on the more mild and warm side. You could see those temps bump back up on Saturday, and then they moderate a little bit by Sunday. Sunday, some background chances of showers and thunderstorms as well. But other than that, just looking hot throughout your 7-day forecast.
Oh, well, welcome back. All right, let's get to your messages. Comments you sent in during today's show. This one, I believe, comes from Scott. I think it's time for our legislators to adjust the verbiage from life to health of the mother-in-law and save the taxpayers a ton of money. There's still several lawsuits out there based on that right now, so we'll see how that play out, or how those will play out here in the coming months. Wow, First Student Bus Company picking up the majority of brown bus drivers. Doubt they have 200 drivers just hanging out waiting for a job. So they're saying they should have some drivers available to them. They could just take those jobs. It is worth pointing out that Boise School District dumped First Student contract in 2019 because they didn't have enough staff to operate, to fulfill the contract. So maybe there is an option or a problem there with First Student. Don't understand why parents can't step up and drive school buses to save on transportation costs. You get time off from maternity leave and jury duty. Why not this cause? It's not like coaching your kid's soccer team driving a bus, just so you know.